The ancient pre-Islamic world was built upon an incredibly fragile cosmic structure, suspended over a terrifying and infinite void. This universe functioned through a rigid hierarchy, 7 superimposed heavens stacked directly over 7 corresponding Earths. These realms were isolated by an immense, silent scale. Ancient tradition held that the distance between each layered realm was a 500-year journey. Beneath the lowest Earth stood the foundation of the entire system, a colossal angel tasked with physically shouldering the weight of every heaven and earth. This model made existence a physical, precarious construct. For the inhabitants of the surface, reality was stable, only as long as its physical pillars held. If the foundation failed, the world would drop into the abyss. To prevent the angel from slipping in the void, God provided a footing, a solid, glowing slab of green emerald or ruby. That gemstone platform rested on the back of Kuyuta, a cosmic bull with 40,000 legs and 40,000 eyes staring into the dark. Kuyuta acted as a mechanical regulator for the human world. When the bull inhaled and exhaled in the depths of the void, the movement physically pushed and pulled the tides of the Earth's oceans. The bull was sustained by Bahamut, an incomprehensibly massive fish swimming through a cosmic sea. To explain Bahamut's size, medieval writers noted that if all of Earth's oceans were placed in one of the fish's nostrils, they would be as small as a mustard seed dropped in the desert. Beneath the cosmic sea lies the final layer of the hierarchy, Folklore, a giant serpent lurking in the bottomless darkness. This vertical descent reveals a universe of precarious order, propped up by a chain of leviathans. Because humans were powerless against the monsters beneath them, they looked upward for protection. At the geographic center of the human realm was the city of Mecca. The Kaaba served as a sanctuary for this world, housing roughly 360 idols that represented localized order. Hubal was the chief god of the local Quraysh tribe. As a moon deity, he was the final authority in divination ceremonies where tribal leaders used arrows to determine the path of their future. While Hubal ruled the sanctuary, the spiritual anchors of the peninsula were the triple goddesses. Their domains governed the entire cycle of human life. Al-Lat was the mother goddess, representing prosperity and springtime. She refused to tolerate bloodshed. This peaceful nature is depicted in the Lion of Al-Lat, a sculpture showing a fierce lion shielding a vulnerable gazelle between its paws. The pantheon at the Kaaba provided a system of local control, offering humans a way to negotiate for survival in a universe held up by forces far beyond their understanding. Beyond the mother, there was Al-Uzza, the maiden of the morning star. She governed warfare and justice, and was venerated as a patroness of power among the monumental stone facades of Petra. The cycle ended with Manat, the ancient crone. She was the personification of fate and the inevitability of the grave. Manat's authority was physically inscribed on tombs, where she was invoked to lay curses on anyone who violated the resting place of the dead. These deities provided structure from birth to death, but their power ended at the edge of the sanctuary. To leave the settlement was to leave their protection and enter a much more chaotic domain. Leaving the city meant stepping into the deep desert wastes, where the rules of the gods were replaced by the unpredictable shadows of the dunes. These wastes belonged to the Jinn, a parallel race forged from smokeless fire. Unlike the mechanical cosmic beasts or the transactional gods of the city, Jinn possessed absolute free will. They could be benign, mischievous, or deadly, depending entirely on their own choice. The most powerful were the Marids, associated with the sea, and the Ifrits, who lived in organized societies beneath the earth. Travelers specifically feared the ghouls, shapeshifters that took the form of hyenas to lure victims away from their caravans. They were believed to haunt desolate locations, like the ruins of Palmyra, waiting for anyone seeking shelter in the dark. Folklore also spoke of the Nas-Nas, a creature split vertically down the middle, possessing half a head and half a body, yet moving with lethal speed. This universe of world-bearing leviathans and free-willed spirits provided the narrative framework for later Arabian storytelling. This is the Arabian Peninsula. In the ancient world, these vast isolating stretches of sand functioned as a forge. Survival here required specific martial and moral virtues, capable of withstanding months of isolation and lethal heat. One of the most enduring figures from this era was Antara ibn Shaddad. Born to an Arab noble and an enslaved Ethiopian woman, Antara was an outcast by birth, forced to spend his youth tending camels at the very bottom of the social hierarchy. He broke those social chains through warfare. During 40 years of conflict, known as the War of Dahis and Al-Gabra, Antara established himself as a powerhouse on the battlefield, eventually earning his freedom through combat. But physical strength alone did not secure a name. In this environment, a hero's legacy relied on his ability to balance the violence of the spear with the refining virtues of chivalry and poetry. Leadership in a land of scarce resources was often defined by hospitality. The tribal chief Hatim al-Tai became a legend by treating extreme selflessness as the ultimate demonstration of power. When a starving traveler reached Hatim's camp during a famine, Hatim had no food to offer. He chose to slaughter his most valuable possession, his horse, simply to provide a meal for a stranger. While Hatim modeled the ideal moral character, others provided a different kind of survival tool, supernatural foresight. This was the role of Zarqa al-Yamama, the prophetess with piercing blue eyes. Zarqa could see enemies approaching from 3 days away. She warned her tribe that a rival army was moving toward them, hiding behind uprooted trees. But her people dismissed her as mad. They were slaughtered where they sat. Zarqa's death highlights the boundary of mortal effort. No amount of bravery, generosity, or foresight could protect a tribe once the broader, indifferent forces of the world began to move against them. As the focus shifts from the desert floor to the sky, the scale of danger increases. The Arabian skies were ruled by the Roc, or Roc, the mythological apex predator of the natural world. This diagram illustrates the creature's reported scale. Starting with a human, we scale up to a full-grown elephant. The Roc dwarfs both, possessing a 40-foot wingspan and talons strong enough to lift a rhinoceros off the ground to feed its young. Sailors reported that the Roc would hunt by dropping massive boulders from the clouds to crush passing merchant ships, sinking them instantly. If the Roc represented brute force, the Anka represented the eerie and the mystical. It was described as a bird with the face of a human and 4 pairs of wings. The Anka's story is a tragedy of corruption. Created in total perfection, it eventually warped into a plague that destroyed the land it was meant to inhabit, leading to its eventual exile or death. These monsters provided the ancient world with a way to visualize the uncontrollable. They were a framework for sudden disasters that left humans with no hope of defense. If a single warrior cannot stop a Roc, what happens when an entire civilization tries to rival the power of the divine? This is the story of Iram of the Pillars, a city of unimaginable wealth built by the giant tribe of Ad. They were masters of architecture, filling the desert with towers that reached for the sky. But their building mastery turned into hubris. The Ad tribe began to believe their stone monuments made them invincible, leading them to ignore the prophets who warned against their growing arrogance. The response was a violent, unyielding sandstorm. It battered the city for 7 nights and 8 days without a moment of relief. Today, excavations like these show us the archaeological reality behind the myth, real cities genuinely buried by the shifting environment. Iram was pushed so deep into the Rub al-Khali desert that its towers simply disappeared into the dunes. The legends of Antara, the mythical Roc, and the city of Iram connect to form a single portrait of life on the peninsula.